Everyone, how are you? I hope that everyone is doing amazing wherever they are. This video is about how we can improve the effectiveness of our discussions or conversations, important conversations with the people that matter the most to us, the people in our family, our partners, and any family members, and anyone that is especially important to you. And the reason that I am labeling this video on this topic specifically for the important people that are in our family and close to us is because oftentimes we prepare a lot more for conversations that we're having at work, in a professional setting, or in a context where there is a more official or formal scenario, and where there are less emotions involved, where it's more objective and clear cut and more linear or logical, more focused on logic and straightforwardness. However, when it comes to our relationships, those are the relationships that matter the most to us, and they are the ones that have the most emotion involved. And they can also, oftentimes they can be the most complicated and the most difficult ones to engage with, especially for difficult conversations where you would like to ask your partner for something, or you would like them to understand your feelings, or where you stand on a subject, and where you want both of you to reach a certain resolution or to have more clarity on a topic. And the reason why this is so important is because the people that are close to us, our family members, are the ones that we see every day and with whom we want to establish lifelong relationships and connection. So how do we best prepare for these conversations, or whenever you want to have a heart-to-heart with your significant other or with a family member? Well, the first thing to acknowledge is that it is a very important conversation, and that it deserves and it requires the same amount of preparation that you would give to a job interview, or to a meeting with your boss, or to a meeting with your team, or to a meeting with a service provider, a business partner, or someone with whom you have a meeting that you expect to express something and to receive something. And it's really valuable to remember that we need to prepare for these discussions or chats. And the way that we can do that is by understanding, how does the other person communicate, and how do they most effectively receive messages. In other words, what is the most effective way that you can communicate your message to them in a way that they will be open to it, receptive to it, and understanding your meaning. And the reason why I highlight this point about communicating your message in their way or in their format or package is because often we communicate things to others in our own way, in our own wording, with our own emotions, and especially with relationships when we're angry or we're upset or there's just a lot of emotional charge, we just blurt things out. We don't prepare for those types of discussions, and then we don't allow the other person the opportunity to be in a more calm and neutral place in themselves so that they can receive what you're saying and then respond in a resourceful way. And usually what happens is, if one person says something in an outburst, then the other person will shut down, and they will block it out, and they will turn off and ignore or change the subject, or just no longer understanding what you're saying. So if you want your counterpart, your significant other, your spouse, or your son or your daughter, or whomever it is, your boyfriend and girlfriend, if you want them to hear and truly understand what you're saying and your position, then think about, how do they like to speak? How do they communicate with their friends? And how do they usually communicate with you? What is their best way of expressing things? And how do they receive information from their friends and from you? In other words, what are the effective ways that they receive communication? In what tone do you have to speak? How is it best for you to be physically standing, or should you be sitting? Should you just interrupt them? Or do you think that they would appreciate more that you ask them for some time aside for both of you to have that chat? And in what mode of communication do they like to? I mean, is it effective if you can send them a WhatsApp or a text message and say, hey, sweetheart, or, darling, or whomever, there's something I wanted to get off my chest, or there's something that I wanted to share with you. When is a good time for us to have that chat? And then you can both be prepared for that time instead of one bursting out and the other being interrupted. And so from both sides of the equation, there is not a lot of preparation and openness to what's about to happen. And so that really is the key, is to be aware that it's an important conversation, and that if it matters to you, then you want to prepare for it. Then think about what is the most effective way or ways that this other person receives communication. How do they like to say things to their friends and their family and to you? And then perhaps then you can package your message in that gift wrap or that package or format. And then the last thing that you can do before you go into your conversation, or before you actually engage in the chat, is to visualize yourself. Take some time out and just think in your head, what outcome do you want? What would you like to see happen? And how do you see them reacting? And how do you see them responding? And how do you see both of you coming to a harmonious outcome together and moving together forward to the next step, where both of you are in this resolution and a win-win scenario? And then see yourself saying your words. Even if you want, prepare in your head, say them mentally, see yourself going through the script, and then go through that process, see how you think they would react to you, what they would say, and then have your outcome ready in your visualization, and then go ahead and have your conversation. And so this seems like a lot of, thinking and analyzing for something that should be really simple, because it's our family or it's our partner. But have you noticed that when we don't prepare for things, they often go in a direction that was undesired, or the other person reacts in a way that we couldn't have anticipated, or they don't appreciate the way that you said something and you're surprised by it. So think about those things, and then we all realize that for the people that really matter to us, we want to be considerate of their feelings and of their time as much as we want them to do the same for us. So it's just something to think about for your future conversations that are of great importance to you, for all those valuable relationships. So I'm leaving it at that for right now, and I'm wishing you a beautiful moment and many moments of joy and love and wonderful empowerment ahead. Bye!